97. Number 97. 669.
Number 669.
Oh
Our assignment for this morning from Brother Kevin was to bring a thought out of the sermon that stuck out to us. And one thing that Brother David said is, if we're just gliding along and everything's going smoothly for us, and basically everything we do is just turning out how we want it, we don't learn from that. It's when we fail and when we make mistakes, that's when we really learn, as long as we keep our mind open and are willing to.
I like the verse that David brought out, Matthew chapter 9, verse 13. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice. For I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. And I thought about, there might be someone I meet, or maybe someone I know who I feel like I have all my ducks in a row better than they do, but I think it'd be wrong for me to use that to beat them over the head and try to elevate myself. What God really wants is for us to show mercy to others, because He's shown mercy to us.
One thing that stuck out to me was what he was saying about there was a lot of things that Jesus was pretty good at keeping his cool. You know, there weren't a lot of things that made him upset, but one thing that really got him angry was when the holy people, the good people, the righteous people, when they would really pick apart and look down on those who they deem not as righteous as themselves. And it's a real fine balancing act, I think. You know, we try really hard to, you know, live godly life and everything, but if that makes us proud and feel like we're better than those around us, then it's not anything. It's worse than nothing.
Part that stuck out to me was where David said how we have it so easy. We're used to winning at most everything we do, and just kind of we seem to be just blessed so much more than, you know, people around the world. And just to remember that if things don't go our way or whatever, we can be thankful for that and learn from it, and also use the blessings that we've been given to help people that have been so fortunate.
One thing that David said was how his grandma used to always say how whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and like we don't learn much when we win, but it's when we lose that we learn. And God uses the hard times in our lives to, like an anvil and a hammer, to make us and shape us how He wants us to be.
One thing that I thought about from the sermon there was that the disciples back, like at first, for a good while, they were thinking that they're going to be heroes when Jesus calls a bunch of angels to save them, and they're going to be right up there with him. But they had to learn that he was going to go through whatever God wanted him to go through.
Brother David said our goal is to be like God, and sang in our song, one of our hymns this morning, ponder anew what the Almighty can do if with His love He befriended me. Also sang, ode to grace, how great a debt daily I'm constrained to be. So just ponder that anew, what the Almighty can do, His love, with His love He befriended me, and give us an example of something that you get impressed with what the Lord has done in someone's life. Make what the Lord has done in someone's life. Your own, someone, or a family.
Morning, everyone. Anybody have any prayer requests? Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for all your blessings. Thank you for allowing us to gather here today. Thank you for another beautiful week and a beautiful day. And keep safely, however we can. Be with other ladies, give us a message this morning, Lord, and allow us to hear it and apply it to our lives. Yes, thank you, name. Amen. I'm going to turn to Hebrews 11. Verse 32. Probably one of my favorite chapters in the Bible, but I don't know, I was looking for a passage this morning. I was kind of trying to talk on something else this morning. I was flipping through my Bible this morning looking for the passage that I wanted, and I seen this and I was like, I think I'd rather talk about this, so we'll go for it. It says, what more shall I say, for time will fail me if I tell of Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, and of David, Samuel, and the prophets, who by faith conquered kingdoms, performed acts of righteousness, obtained promises, shut the mouths of lions, quenched the power of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, from weakness were made strong, became mighty in war, put foreign armies to flight. Women received back their dead by resurrection, and others were tortured, not accepting their release, so that they might obtain a better resurrection. And others experienced mockings and scourgings, yes, also chains and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn in two, they were tempted, they were put to death with the sword, went about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, and ill-treated. Men of whom the world was not worthy, wandering in deserts and mountains and caves and holes in the ground, and all these having gained approval through their faith. Through their faith did not receive what was promised, because God has provided something better for us, so that from us they would not be made perfect. I really like men of whom the world was not worthy. You know, they lived in some pretty hard times, a lot of them. It says here that, you know, they were killed and scorned, put sawn into and put under, whatever. And they went through very hard lives, and, you know, they never gave up, and they always just went on their day-to-day lives, doing what they knew best, just serving God, and went about humbly, helping others, and just living their lives. You know, they never knew what tomorrow might bring, but they didn't worry about it, because they knew that as of today, as of this moment, they were not scared, because they had no thought for tomorrow. And it's just, you know, you say sometimes you have bad days, hard weeks, whatever, and you just think how hard it's been and whatnot. And if you think about it, it's honestly it's very hard, it's very easy to say you have a bad day, bad week. And some of these people in here, they lived horrible lives sometimes, you know, they was just very hard lives, and we don't really have any right to say that we have a hard week compared to them. So. And men of whom the world was not worthy. I love that line. It pushes me to be a better person. You know, I can just, I don't know, it just makes me wonder, makes me think that I can push myself to be better just by comparing, or not necessarily comparing, but just thinking when I have a bad day, hard week, whatever, that it's not the end of the world. There's always tomorrow that will be better, whatever, and it's not. I can't really say that how bad of a week I had, considering some of the things these people went through. And it just really helps me to be strong and remember that sometimes it's just all for a better purpose. And something else. of these, having gained approval through their faith, did not receive what was promised, because God has provided something better for us, so that apart from us, they would not be made something better for us, so that apart from us, they would not be made perfect. And, what was my train of thought? I don't know, I lost my train of thought on that one. But, it's just, this is probably my favorite chapter in the Bible, just because it talks about so many great people and heroes that are the true heroes of forever for me. So that's about all I have this week.
On 156,
Number 156.
you all this morning in Jesus' name. Blessing to be here again with you all. Let's go, Lord, in prayer. Father, we come before you this morning, and we thank you again for your goodness and your mercy. Lord, we thank you for all that you do for us. Your blessing, Father, on this time together. Lord, fill us with your Spirit and give us wisdom, Father, as we open your word to apply it. Help us apply it to our hearts and our lives. Again, we just thank you for all that you do. Thank you again in Jesus' precious name. Amen. All right. Let's open our Bibles to Ephesians chapter 6 this morning. I'll just read a few verses and we'll turn here. Chapter 6, verse 1, it says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may be well with you, and you may live long on the earth. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Slaves, be obedient to those who are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in the sincerity of your heart, as to Christ, not by way of eye service as men pleasers, but as slaves of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart. With good will render service as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that whatever good thing each one does, this he will receive back from the Lord, whether slave or free. And masters, do the same thing to them, and give up threatening, knowing that both their master and yours is in heaven, and there is no partiality with him." All right. First verse here says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right." You know, just talking this morning, you know, we're just thinking about this morning, Mother's Day just reminds us, you know what, we all have our ideas of mothers. Sometimes we have the thought of just the gentle side of the pair between the father, you know, we have the picture of the father just being a rough man and the mother just coming along and just being the tender one in the whole bunch. And as we think of that, a lot of times we kind of, that's the image we get. But I don't think that necessarily that's the image that is whenever we picture fathers and mothers, you know, the biblical idea is that the father, you know, is representation of the Father, and Christ is representing the bride, of the doing the will of the Father. And so it's whenever we look at this example of a mother, a father, a home, we have the picture of God as he relates to us, and as Christ as he relates to us. Verse 1 says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right." I guess what I want to focus on this morning is just touch on a little of both, but a big part of this is going to be to children, young people. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. You know, if we just think of those verses, you know, whenever we look in eternity, we look at the real heart of things, of what is right and wrong. You know, there's a few things the Bible just spells out. And this is one of them that says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Now, I talked to some men yesterday, and they were basically, they're maybe if they are religious at all, they're scoffers. They don't really believe the Bible. They don't really understand it. Most of it stems from a bad experience in their youth with religion, and they've learned to despise and hate it. And the problem is that representation of religion is what they think God is. So they have no use for God, because they've been hurt sometime in their life, and they've let that hurt fester into where they become hardened men. And they become hardened men, like I said, because they got hurt by someone that was religious. And I just shared with them, you know, the thing about it is Jesus has been malaligned or misrepresented by primarily people who claim to represent him. He's been falsely represented. And it's, you know, if we could only see who God is, we would see the great difference between who he's portrayed as and who he really is. And one of the ways we do that, and I told him, I said, you know, it's not that I just stand up there and say that every word that is written in the Bible is true, but what I'm looking for in the Bible is what's right. And it explains, you know, it shows us the good side and the bad, it shows us evil and good. And what we want to glean from that is not just to memorize every word of it or to memorize certain parts of it that fit us, but look what it says is good. Look what it shows us is good. You know, almost every religion brought this out, you know, has the ideals of not hurting other people, not doing wrong to other people, respecting marriage, respecting your parents. Almost every religion has those fundamentals, and that's because those are coming from God, trying to reach out to men, and different men hearing those things, those values, have taken it and built sometimes other religions based on those things. But the heart of it is that which is good. And if we learn these things when we're young, it says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. It's not just because they're bigger than you are. It's not just because they're smarter than you are. It's not because they're older than you are. It's because it's right. They're your parents. This is the foundation. This is what God established. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise. The promise was so that it may be well with you and you live long upon the earth. That was a promise in the Old Testament. But it's not just, you know, guaranteed that you'll live a long time if you honor your parents. on this earth. It's you will live. And you will live long. And that's more than just the time on earth. Because it's following these principles that God has laid out. You know, we have choices. You know, it's difficult when children are getting older and they're coming of age and they're learning to figure out things and they're gaining more responsibility and they become their own man or their own woman and they're making their own decisions. You know, there's kind of a balancing act here of what it means whenever we get to that place. And it's difficult for the parents because, you know, it's hard just to let go and let them make some choices and let them make decisions. And so there's and then when they get out on their own even, you know, and we see them making decisions and doing things and you just sometimes you think, oh no, what are they doing? And you just want to rush in and just go fix things. Whenever, and I mean, and it's difficult. So then the child is, and whenever that's happening, you know, and the parent comes rushing in, the first thing you want to do is, you know, this is my home, and they have no business meddling in my affairs. You know, it's just, there's that conflict there. And what I want to reiterate is on the children's part here, is that there still needs to be an honor for your parents, even whenever you're on your own and have your own home. You know, we don't have to just do everything that they say. We've got our own home now. We don't have to just feel like we're honoring them and we just got to obey everything. That's the only way to honor them. That's not the only way to honor them. We can listen to them patiently, quietly. You know, sometimes then we may feel like they've told us this 5 or 6 different times or 100 times. You know, they're always nagging at us. So we get a little frustrated and don't want them to mind their own business. There's where you can honor your parents. You know, they may have to bring something up over and over again, and we get hardened, or the children get hardened, and they don't want to listen to it, and they just think they're nagging. Well, you know, there could be that you don't see something that they see. Could be. You know, how many times in our lives have we looked back and thought, wow, Dad was right, or Mom was right. I wish I'd have listened a little sooner. You know, so it's the way we honor them. You know, like I said, we don't have to just jump in and obey everything. It's not a master with a whip and a slave kind of thing. But to honor them is maybe I need to just step back and listen to what they're saying instead of just griping about them saying it again. Just sit back and I'm going to really look at what they're saying without having our minds all made up. And you know, the problem is whenever someone tells us something and we don't listen, and after a few times we don't want to listen anymore, we start getting resentful and we start getting rebellious. And those are not good things. And that's not how you honor your parents. You honor them by listening and taking it patiently. They're not coming at you with a whip or a gun or a club. You know, then we would believe about non-resistance. You know, we would want to love those people that would hurt us that way, and yet whenever someone who actually does love us comes at us and tries to share something with us, we get all upset about it. get all mad about it. Maybe they do it every time you see them. But it's not about what they're doing, it's about how I respond to that. That's how we honor them. Like I said, we don't have to just do everything they tell us. But sometimes when they tell us something and we react bad about it, we're not honoring it. You know, it's like people who's had to take a stand for something. To honor the people who you have to stand against, you've got to keep a right attitude about it. You've got to have an attitude that's still honorable about it. You know, there's not much difference, you know, technically. It doesn't look that different sometimes when someone has to take a stand or someone's just a plain old rebel. There's a fine line there that we have to make a choice. You know, if we take a stand and then we are punished for it and we take it patiently and we take it, whatever the price is, we take it. And we can do that with a good attitude towards the person giving it to us. That shows honor. But if we do something and we feel like we've got to take a stand, but we're not willing to pay a price for it, we're not going to let them punish us, we're not going to let them, we're just a rebel. When you take a stand for something, when you take a stand, and it's going to go against the grain, and it's going to cause some problems, you've got to be willing to pay a silent price for it. It's going to cost. When Jesus gave himself, he was taking a stand. And while he was on the cross, he wasn't reviling the people who did what he forgave them. That's how you take a stand. He wasn't, I'll get even with you. I'm not going to listen to you. If something is worth standing for, if it's a real principle that you're asked to go against and you're going to stand for it, and it's going to cause a conflict, which it will sometimes if it's real, then you just got to kind of take whatever comes your way. Right or wrong, whether you're actually right or wrong in the issue, or whether it's right or wrong for them to punish you or do whatever you got to take it. If you're going to honor the people above you, you know, if the government comes along, the Bible tells us to honor those that have authority over us. Well, most of the time they're not going to be right, and sometimes we're going to have to go against them. But part of honoring them is to take the punishment that comes with it for going against them. Honor has to do with our attitude. You know, anybody can rebel. Anybody can be a rebel. And there's not really much honor in that. Because a rebel doesn't respect the people that are above them. They're fighting against them. You know, one of the things we can check ourselves whenever we're challenged. What's my response to the challenge? Am I full of surefire questions that'll make them get my way? You know, or is there do I get an attitude about it towards the person who talked to me? You know, I've been challenged quite a few times, and one thing I like to do is just to hear the person out. Let them say their piece, and then I've got to make a decision. You know, I've been accused a lot of times of not listening to people. Well, I try to listen to people whenever, especially they're bringing a challenge against me or bringing something against me. I want to listen to it. That doesn't mean I have to just go jump into every decision or every whim that they have. But we can listen to it. You know, God used a mule to speak to a prophet. You know, we're not above anybody teaching us a little something. Honor your father and mother. You know, that sounds pretty simple. But honoring our parents is not something that we just do once or twice. It's, we honor them with our lives. We honor them, you know, I've just thought about, you know, whenever parents are raising their children, they don't think it's a chore. You know, it might be hard, and it might be difficult, but they don't despise the thought of having to get up in the middle of the night. Oh, there they are again, that brat. I've got to go take care of that brat again. You know, most of the time, you know, there's times, I'm sure, most of the time, they want to fix whatever's wrong. They want to take care of it. You know, they don't wake up every morning and got to go to work to go feed the brats. The only reason I have to work is to go feed them children. You know, what if your parents really thought that about you? It'd probably trickle down, wouldn't it? But we don't, for the most part, we don't sense that. Those parents get up and they do those things because they love their children. They honor them. You know, whenever it comes to, whenever the children have to start taking care of their parents, oh boy, I gotta go do this for mom and dad again. I gotta go do this for dad. I gotta do this. And, you know, it's a lot easier. I gotta go take care of the old man again. I gotta go help the old lady again. You know, what's the difference in honoring? Is there, if it was whenever you were a baby and the mother or the father would say, oh, I gotta make sure that I gotta go take care of those brats again. You see, it ought to be that same love. There's where honor comes in. That same love and respect that a father or a mother has for a child they're looking after, whenever it comes to looking after needs in the parents. That's where real honor comes. And it's so easy because they're older, you know, and maybe we didn't like what they did for us sometimes, but we can justify ourselves by kind of grumbling and complaining or just getting by with what we can to take care of them. See, a big pain in the neck to have to go do that. Well, they didn't do that with you. is my point. They didn't do that with you. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. We have the children, it gives first, and then it instructs the fathers here in the order of things. You see, because it really doesn't matter, the father, the parents, they can be good or bad. But the responsibility of the child is the same. Good or bad. You know, I've known parents or children that grew up and had terrible parents. I mean, absolutely terrible parents. That actually thought of them like I'm talking about, thought they were a big inconvenience to them. And it was just a pain in the neck for them to have to go to work and go take care of their children. And then the children just honor the daylights out of those parents. Just love them no matter what. You know, that's part of, you know, whenever we have good things, we think we ought to have better. We begin to think we ought to have better. But man, when you grow up with nothing, and you see, I've seen people that they're growing up with nothing. Parents just despise them. And they still grow up and honor and love their parents. That's ringing bells. God. How much more should we, who've had parents that loved us, honor them? You know, it even goes in, it says slaves, be obedient to those who are your masters. You know, it doesn't even have to be a father and a child relationship, or mother and a child relationship. Goes into even people being slaves. Slaves honor the master. We don't have slavery like that. But even if we did, you know, the Bible never says anything but if you're a slave, be a good slave. And if you're a master, be a good master. There are different stations in life and different places. We have the opportunity to shine in both of those. Mothers, you know, our children, and parents, I guess, our children are, your children are not given to you for you to entertain them. Or just to make sure they have a good time, or make sure they see all the sights. That's not what they're given to you for. They're given to you to mold them. You know, one of the examples, Sylvester talked about an anvil. You know, I've heard the idea that children, men are made, men are forged through the anvil of their youth. In other words, when they struggle and have hard times, they are formed. You know, you take a tool and you heat it up, and you know, a piece of metal, you take it up and you heat it up and you beat on it with a hammer and then temper it. And it takes all of that to make a useful tool. And to have a man or a woman, you know, we're not here to make it easy for the children or just to pamper them. You know, we love them and we want to take care of them, but I've before, you know, whenever I'd take my children out sometimes, and I remember going, we was gonna take them to the circus or a fair or something, I don't even know what it is, but I just noticed that every time we were going to do something fun, we would go laughing and come home crying. Every time. And then I noticed that, you know, I remember we were gonna go pick blackberries one time, taking the children out. They didn't wanna go and they were crying and didn't wanna do that. It's boring. We went crying and came home laughing. And that is something that I've seen over and over and over again. Put your focus on them laughing later than laughing now. Focus your training on them laughing later when they're older and they can look back at it and see how those difficult times they had to go through have molded them into someone with strength and character. Instead of someone looking back on those times and probably despising them because they're bitter and angry because their life just turned out a wreck. Because they laughed when they were little about having a good time all the time, and now they're crying. Both parents and children are crying because they just made a mess of their life. Mothers and fathers, be diligent. Children, when they're younger, and as they get older, we get to learn to let go just a little bit, let them make some decisions. We can tell them, we can teach them, we can show them the bad decision. Wisdom, you know, some wise people learn because of their mistakes, but a wiser person will learn because of somebody else's mistakes. You know, you may gain wisdom being stupid, making a lot of dumb decisions, but it's a lot wiser whenever you can listen to someone else that's made those dumb decisions and you don't have to. You may have to humble yourself, you may have to cut yourself back just a little bit. But anyway, honor your parents, young people and old people. Honor your parents. And there's no place for, you know, you might not have the perfect parents in your own eyes. Your parents may make all kinds of mistakes, and they may just do dumb stuff, and they may be too hard on you. You know, maybe they do need to do things better or different. But the reality is you're the iron. And you can either become bitter and brittle, or you can let those things shape you into being an honorable. You know, you might not get to do everything you want to do when you get a little older. You think you ought to be able to do whatever you want to do. let those things make you better. Do not let those things make you bitter. You know, there's a lot of groups that their only focus is finding someone who's got a hurt and then just injecting infection into that hurt by coddling it, pampering it, and fanning the flame of rebellion. That's not honorable. There's nothing good about it. May the Lord add His blessing. You don't have anything you'd like to share? All right, well, Lord willing, we'll meet back here at 6 o'clock. Evening meal, God bless you all.
Singing this afternoon, 2:30. Hey, look.
Thank you.